Good morning. Yes, it's working. Good morning to you all. I think it's a great morning again, being here in Cairo for Cairo World Water Week. Days to talk about water, days to discuss and understand water and water-related challenges better, days to meet with people who work actively on water, giving their hearts and their minds to make sure that this world becomes more water secure. That is always inspirational, knowing that the challenges are so massive, knowing that convincing the world that water is at the heart of the solutions we are looking for is sometimes an uphill battle. But when we do this uphill battle, we find inspiration, we find warmth, we find compassion, and we find, of course, the solutions for the ones that are most vulnerable first and foremost. Thank you again, Government of Egypt, for hosting us here in Cairo for Cairo World Water Week in the lead-up to COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh. Again, also in the lead-up to the UN 2023 Water Conference. This is day 2 of the policy dialogue in water-scarce countries for achieving SDGs Midterm Review of the Water Action Decade ministerial meeting. That means that after yesterday's kickoff and discussing the Cairo call for action, today there will be 3 policy dialogues, plenary sessions here, promoting water and climate cooperation. The ministerial dialogue will start off. Then accelerating innovation for sustainable water management. And third, expanding smart finance mechanisms. And it will close today with a closing ceremony on the call for action, the Cairo call for action towards the UN 2023 Water Conference. So I look forward to this discussion. I hope you all were able to read the Cairo call for action at the heart of the debate also this morning, informing our actions that we all have to take together, that we all have to convince others to join forces and hands on our road to a water secure world. So critical, important, because it is the fundamental of life, livelihood, our prosperity, equity, resiliency, and sustainability. And after yesterday, when I went to sleep a little bit too late because I came from New York, so I was bright awake, thinking over what happened yesterday and the many debates. There's always this thing that resonates and that keeps me awake is, how come and why is it that it is so tough? That billions of people around the world still lack access to water, sanitation, and hygiene in 2022. That climate-related disasters are coming at us with water. At the heart of the solution, water is. It is still so misunderstood, undervalued, and mismanaged. How come? And I don't have an answer. But I do see alternatives. Solutions where cross-sectoral, between nations, between regions, between cultures, there are partnerships emerging that look at that brighter future where water plays a key role. And it's in this inspiration that we need scale and replication. It's also in this inspiration that we need political leadership to drive that scale, as well as from the ground up partnerships. And it's this mix of leadership across layers, across borders, across sectors, starting individually with each and every one of us, that we have here on stage. Leadership that connects the challenges across society with taking decisions, seeing them through, and building capacity across our societies. I think that is exactly what we need but it is exactly also what we need across the world. So I'm very happy with this amazing panel. I'll read out who we have on stage and online to make sure that you're aware. We start with Mr. Liu Yunhai. He's the Undersecretary General for Economic and Social Affairs from the Department of Economic and Social Affairs at the United Nations. And he's also the Secretary General for next year's UN 2023 Water Conference. He will join us online later. Then we go to His Excellency, Professor Hani Sewilam, the Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation from the government of Egypt, our host of the Cairo Water Week. Welcome, Minister. Then the Honorable Serigne Mbaye Thiam, Minister of Water and Sanitation, Senegal. Welcome, Minister. Also the host of the World Water Forum last March in Dakar in Senegal, a very successful World Water Forum. Compliments to you and your government, Minister. We go to His Excellency Juma Hamido Aweso, Minister of Water and Irrigation from Tanzania. Minister, welcome here in Cairo. His Excellency Mr. Farid Belhai, Vice President of the Middle East and North African part of the World Bank. He's not on stage, but he will join us online. And then His Excellency Mr. Jamshed Shoimzoda, First Deputy Minister of Energy and Water Resources from the Republic of Tajikistan, and of course a proud co-host, together with the government of the Netherlands, for next year's UN 2023 conference. We go to Mr. Francisco Igor Nunes, Deputy National Secretary of Water Security from the government of Brazil. Welcome, Francisco. And Mr. Liu Zhuyang, Director General of International Cooperation, Science and Technology at the Ministry of Water Resources, the Republic of China. And then we end with a video by Ms. Florica Flink-Hoyer, Director General for Environment for the European Commission, coming from us, from Brussels to us, and then I'll try to wrap it up. We have 1.5 hours, although we started late, we still have 1.5 hours. So I hope everybody can stick to times. I will invite the panelists up here to address you from the podium, and then engage, I hope, in a conversation across the challenges and opportunities they see. This Cairo call for action that is on the table presents us with an alternative, like the outcomes of the Dushanbe conference in the lead-up to the UN 2023 conference. That alternative to deliver on the Sustainable Development Goals and to get to concerted climate action is what we need to embrace. We have to make sure we can implement. We have to support it with capacity, governance, innovation, finance, data, at best. So I hope to hear from you what you have in mind for us here in Cairo. And I'd like to start with starting the video of Mr. Liu Yunya, Undersecretary General of UN.
Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to participate in the 2022 Cairo Water Week, Water at the Heart of the Climate Action. I would like to congratulate the government of the Arab Republic of Egypt for organizing this important annual conference. Water and climate are closely linked through a complex hydrological cycle. With rising average global temperatures, the water is experiencing more extreme water-related weather events. In the Horn of Africa, an unprecedented drought lasting 4 consecutive years is threatening the lives and the livelihoods of the 22 million people with the food insecurity and extreme poverty. By 2030, up to 700 million people in Africa are estimated to face a risk of displacement by drought. Resilient and adaptive water management is a key component of adapting to climate change. We must strengthen the management of the water resources between the conflicting sectors and promote transboundary cooperation within the same river basin. Integrated water resources management can help to address a broad range of socio-economic challenges, including water resources development, water scarcity, disaster risk reduction, food security, energy production, health, and transportation. With this in mind, the United Nations General Assembly will convene the UN Conference on the Midterm Comprehensive Review of the implementation of the objectives of the International Decade for Action, Water for Sustainable Development, 2018 to 2028, also known as UN 2023 Water Conference, at the UN headquarters in New York from 22nd to 24th March next year. The conference will comprise of 5 interactive dialogues to discuss the following proposed themes. First, water on health. Second, water for development. Third, water for climate, resilience, and environment. Fourth, water for cooperation. Fifth, water action decade. We expect these themes to be finalized at a preparatory meeting convened by the President of the General Assembly on the 25th of October, following a stakeholder consultation on 24th of October. A major outcome of the UN 2023 Water Conference is the Water Action Agenda, a set of voluntary commitments for water actions announced by governments, international organizations, and the private sector, NGOs, and the other stakeholders. All participants in this conference are encouraged to share the action for tackling water issues and accelerating sustainable development. The Cairo Water Week is a perfect opportunity to send consolidated messages from Africa and the Middle East to the UN 2023 Water Conference. I wish you a fruitful discussion and look forward to the outcomes. I thank you.
Yeah, you can applaud. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Liu. Yuan Yu, he's not listening, I guess, but his team definitely is setting out the road from Cairo to the UN 2023 Water Conference and what's ahead. Next week in New York, we will decide on the themes for the interactive dialogues. It sounds a bit bureaucratic, but it's not. These are the themes through which we will structure not only the debate, but our actions, our commitment. These are the themes that are cross-cutting throughout the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. They will make it possible that we commit to actions that work, that we can scale and replicate for a water-secure world for all. Next, His Excellency Professor Hani Sewilam, Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation from Egypt. Please, the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. So I have a couple of slides to share with you. I think just want to illustrate Cairo call for actions. As a contribution from the Cairo Water Week to the UN Conference 2023, going through also the COP27 and taking clear messages to express the needs for the water-scarce countries and other countries who really need specific actions to achieve the SDGs. So we are here speaking about 4 specific actions that are needed to be taken to the UN Conference 23. So taking example of Egypt as a water-scarce country with most of the desert, only 3% of the total land area is cultivated, and Egypt's dependency, as you all know, on the Nile water for 97% of its renewable water resources. We do have water deficit of more than 20 PCM, and this water deficit is covered by the food import from outside. That's of course after water treatment and recycling of another more than 20 PCM of drainage water that's recycled and used again for agriculture, in addition to the climate change and all the impact of climate change, starting from the Nile Basin countries and changing the flow coming to Egypt, and also the sea level rise and the impact on the groundwater and the Nile Delta, in addition to increasing temperature. That's also impacting the farmers in the country, impacting the entire water requirements, the water demand for the industry and household. So all these are challenges are facing Egypt, and the available renewable water resources, as I said, is only the Nile water, 55.5 billion cubic meter, adding to that very, very little amount of rainfall, and we of course using the non-renewable groundwater to add to all of these water resources that are used in the country. So looking at the development of the country, what you see on the x-axis are the years, on the y-axis you see the water share per capita per year. If we just draw the water poverty line, as you can see here, you will see the year 2022, we are almost having 50% of the needed water in the country. The blue color is what's available, the green color is what's missing. So that's what we miss. We miss almost 50% of the water needed to cover our demand. How we do that? We do that by recycling, and even recycling is not enough, but we also import virtual water in the form of importing food. We are the biggest importer of wheat globally. We also are importing huge amount of other crops that just to cover this water gap that we have. So if we have this water, we don't need to import such huge amounts. That's why you can realize clearly that we are impacted by the war happening between Russia and Ukraine, because they are the biggest exporter for wheat to our country. So now we are asked, and we are committed to achieve the SDGs. The SDGs are mainly depending on water. And that's why we have a clear strategy for the... So first of all, we have here our transboundary action, which one of the 4 call for actions in Egypt. Here it's very clear that we do our best to collaborate with our African countries, starting from Sudan, going to all the other basin countries, and you can see many examples. I don't have the time to go through all of them. Collaboration with Uganda in fresh water and digging different wells for drinking water, establishing a project for aquatic weeds. So many projects in the bilateral cooperation, moving to DRC, in Juba, and South Sudan, and Tanzania, Uganda. All of these are development projects that Egypt is collaborating with our brothers in the Nile Basin countries. Hopefully, together we can contribute to the achievement of the SDGs, but that's not enough. We all need more support in order to collaborate and work together to achieve the 17 SDGs, and especially the ones are related to water. So moving to the second action, which is promoting water for climate change. Water for climate change, and here I think we all heard of the AWARE initiative, the initiative that Egypt is putting on the table on the COP27. The AWARE initiative, its mission has 3 main principles. The first principle is decreasing water losses and improve water supply, which I think meets all of us, especially the water-scarce countries. The second principle is mutually agreed policy and methods for cooperative water-related mutually agreed policy and methods for cooperative water-related adaptation actions and its co-benefits. And the third principle is promote cooperation and interlinkages between water and climate action agenda 2030 to achieve the SDGs. So these are the three main principles of the AWARE initiative, which stands for actions for water adaptation and resilience. And this is going to be the first time ever that water to be positioned at the heart of climate action in the COP27. So there was no water initiative in the previous COPs. That's why we hope and we ask for your endorsement and your support to position water finally at the global water agenda, especially making use of the COP27. This is not an Egyptian initiative. This is a global initiative that has been developed with many international partners, starting from the World Meteorological Organizations, going through many other organizations, through a consultation process, discussion, negotiations. Then we have the final version, and if you have it, please go through it, endorse it, and support it during the COP. If you don't have it, please ask us. We can supply you with one of the versions. So this has clear means of implementation. I don't have the time to go through it, but please, I totally advise you to read it and go through it. One is very important action here that's going to be implemented in this AWARE initiative is the capacity building hub that we hope to establish for Africa. Africa needs capacity building, including Egypt and all the other African countries. We need adaptation and mitigation training, capacity building, tools, methods, technology, research. All of these are needed, and this is our voice. We hope that AWARE is also the voice of the South that should be taken up to the COP and beyond the COP27. So the third pillar here is expanding smart finance mechanism. I don't think I need to clarify much about this. Here we just give some examples of the huge investments that Egypt had to invest in order to recycle the water. As I mentioned before, we have only 50% of the renewable water needed for the country. This is a huge investment to establish water treatment stations. Here, 1 million cubic meter per day, 5.6 million cubic meter per day, and 6.5 million cubic meter per day to reclaim land for agriculture activity. So we reuse our water for food production in order to reduce the gap that I mentioned earlier. Also rationalize our water use. I'm sure you heard about thousands of kilometers of canal rehabilitation. And when I speak about rehabilitation, not necessarily lining, this is canal rehabilitation that we try to use the water in a more efficient in order to bring the canals and the water network to its original function. The canals are now more than 100 years old and they need rehabilitation, and this is one of the huge projects running in the country in order to make sure that the farmer is receiving the right amount at the right time and the good quality. So here the last pillar, and then I will finish. Sometimes it's an advantage to be a minister so that you can exceed the time allocated to you, especially when you have a nice moderator. So the last one is accelerating innovation for sustainable water management. Without innovation and technology, it's really very difficult to achieve the SDGs. That's why Egypt started some time ago to use smart systems, sensors for farmers to direct them to use the right amount, to irrigate on the right time, and to measure the soil moisture, and then send a signal or understand what's going on, and then the farmers decide to irrigate. We use also remote sensing and GIS, many applications. I don't go through them. Also weather forecasting and estimation, starting from the Nile Basin to Alexandria to see what's happening with the rainfall and the amounts of water in outside and inside Egypt. We have the wonderful National Water Research Center that's focusing mainly on the water activities and the water actions needed to achieve the SDGs and many other tools and methods. I think I will stop here and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you for your leadership here in Egypt and in the region, but definitely also towards the COP. As you rightly say, putting water at the heart of climate action is not an easy task. Well, we try, because the world shows, with all these disasters being water-related, for one, but at the same time, water and mitigation are directly linked. Our water bodies, our wetlands and our oceans, our carbon sinks, our wastewater treatment, renewal and expansion can be sources of clean energy, jobs and health. And at the same time, investing in water builds resiliency, builds capacity. And the data to prevent disasters impacting the most vulnerable is all related to water-related data. So you're right. But it's been so tough. Last year in Glasgow, for the first time, we hosted a water pavilion at the heart of the climate conference. And again this year, with the support of the government of Tajikistan, the government of Egypt, the Netherlands, Germany, and the United Kingdom, and with many of our partners, we will again have a water pavilion for the full 2 weeks of that climate conference. But it doesn't guarantee that in the outcome document, in the declaration, what we are going to do in the next year and years, water is at the heart. So thank you so much for that leadership there. It is critically needed that the world wakes up to the opportunity water brings for concerted climate action. Next, His Excellency Honorable Serigne Mbaye Thiam, the Minister of Water and Sanitation of Senegal, and of course the host for the World Water Forum this March. Thank you, Minister, for being with us. The podium, the floor is yours.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le modérateur, cher Eng Oving, envoyé spécial des Pays-Bas, Monsieur le ministre des Ressources en eau et de l'irrigation de la République arabe d'Égypte, Professeur Hani Sevilam, Mesdames, Messieurs les ministres, panélistes, distingués représentants des institutions gouvernementales, multilatérales et du secteur privé, Mesdames, Messieurs, chers participants, c'est avec beaucoup d'intérêt et d'honneur que je participe à ce panel. En tant que ministre de l'eau et de l'assainissement de la République du Sénégal, et à prendre part de façon générale à cette 5e édition de la Semaine de l'eau du Caire 2022. Hier, nous avons eu un discours d'ouverture très inspirant avec des orientations très claires de son Excellence, Monsieur le Président Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, Président de la République arabe d'Égypte, et nous venons d'avoir un exposé aussi brillant, avec des perspectives claires de mon homologue Hani Sevilam, ministre des Ressources en eau et de l'irrigation. Cette 5e édition de la Semaine de l'eau du Caire vient à un moment où on peut dire qu'il y a un alignement des agendas. L'Afrique a accueilli en mars 2022 le 9e Forum mondial de l'eau. Cet agenda correspond aussi à l'agenda où le président de la République du Sénégal, son Excellence M. Macky Sall, préside l'Union africaine. Et nous voici aujourd'hui pour cette 5e édition de la Semaine de l'eau du Caire, qui se tient sur un thème qui nous interpelle tous et qui fait le link entre l'eau et le climat, et à quelques semaines de la COP27 qui va se tenir aussi ici en Égypte. Et aussi à quelques mois de la conférence des Nations Unies sur l'eau. Je tiens à remercier le gouvernement égyptien et le peuple égyptien pour l'accueil. Le thème de la Semaine de l'eau du Caire, intitulé « L'eau au cœur de l'action climatique », est d'une grande actualité au vu de cet alignement d'agenda dont j'ai parlé. Ce thème vient à son heure, tant les sujets de l'eau et du climat sont au cœur d'enjeux partagés entre territoires, entre États, entre continents et au sein des communautés à la base. Face à l'urgence climatique et la crise de l'eau généralisée à l'échelle planétaire, la récurrence des aléas fragilise les économies, fragilise nos sociétés et menace même dans certaines parties du monde l'existence de vie dans ces localités. Et ces aléas ont pour nom inondations, ont pour nom sécheresses, ont pour nom cyclones tropicaux, glissements de terrain, avancée de la mer et dégradation de la qualité de l'eau. L'Afrique, bien sûr, n'échappe pas à ces aléas et à ces fléaux, dont les conséquences sont à la fois destructrices pour l'homme et pour la nature. Aujourd'hui, 319 millions d'hectares en Afrique sont menacés par la désertification. La FAO indique que le désert se déplace à un rythme annuel de 5 km, notamment dans les zones semi-arides d'Afrique de l'Ouest. Dès lors, il est important de faire face à la pénurie d'eau et aux sécheresses, notamment en Afrique subsaharienne, où 40% des personnes n'ont pas accès à l'eau et 70% à l'assainissement de base. D'ici 2030, 75 à 250 millions de personnes en Afrique vivront dans des zones à fort stress hydrique, ce qui entraînera probablement le déplacement de plusieurs millions de personnes vers des zones plus propices à des conditions de vie meilleures. Les projections sont encore plus alarmantes. Elles nous avertissent que d'ici 2050, au moins une personne sur 4 est susceptible de vivre dans un pays affecté par des pénuries d'eau. Pour faire face à ces défis, le Sénégal a, au cours des dernières années, développé plusieurs projets et envisage d'en développer d'autres. Projets d'adaptation et de résilience du secteur de l'eau au changement climatique. Alors que le pays est déjà confronté à un stress hydrique, dans certaines zones, notamment dans la zone du Grand Dakar vers la capitale et les zones environnantes, on prévoit une augmentation de 30 à 60% des prélèvements d'eau d'ici 2035. Les événements extrêmes qui sont liés à l'eau ainsi qu'à sa pollution coûtent déjà au Sénégal plus de 10% de son PIB chaque année. Et ces événements extrêmes, c'est seulement des pénuries, ce n'est pas seulement des pénuries, mais aussi c'est le retour des inondations dans certaines zones. Ainsi, 4 actions phares ont été mises en œuvre face à ces aléas et ces défis. 1, c'est le développement de solutions fondées sur la nature, avec un vaste programme de restauration des fonctions écologiques et de renaturation de zones jadis humides. Nous avons un projet important dans la zone du Ferlo. Nous avons un projet que nous avons signé récemment avec la Banque islamique de développement qui restaure les fonctions écologiques d'une zone qui se trouve vers le centre-ouest-sud du Sénégal. C'est dans la zone du Nanija-Bolon. 2, c'est le recours et la mobilisation des ressources en eau non conventionnelles, avec la réalisation en cours d'unités de dessalement d'eau de mer, à Dakar notamment. 3, c'est la gestion de la filière assainissement suivant une approche d'économie circulaire avec la réutilisation de l'eau traitée pour l'agriculture, pour les travaux publics, la valorisation des sous-produits en réduisant les émissions de carbone grâce à l'utilisation de l'énergie produite à travers les bouts de vidange pour ce qui est de l'assainissement autonome. 4, c'est une étude que nous avons menée entre 2021 et 2022, étude intitulée « Étude sur la sécurité de l'eau à l'horizon 2050 », étude qui a permis de dresser le profil pays et qui nous renseigne qu'atteindre la sécurité hydrique exigera des investissements en faveur d'une croissance résiliente ainsi que des réformes clés au niveau des institutions en charge de l'eau. Toutefois, les actions entreprises par le Sénégal indiquent la nécessité, mais surtout l'urgence d'accélérer les actions d'adaptation et de résilience pour accompagner le développement socio-économique durable au niveau des territoires urbains et ruraux du continent. Mesdames, Messieurs, il me plaît de souligner que ces préoccupations ont été largement relayées dans la déclaration de Dakar, issue du Forum de Dakar. Déclaration intitulée « Un Blue Deal pour la sécurité de l'eau et de l'assainissement, pour la paix et le développement », proposée par toutes les parties prenantes au 9e Forum mondial de l'eau, organisé conjointement par le Sénégal et le Conseil mondial de l'eau en mars dernier à Dakar. Ce document, le Blue Deal, appelle la communauté internationale à mettre en œuvre 5 axes fondamentaux pour un monde durable au sens de l'agenda 2030. 1. Garantir le droit à l'eau et à l'assainissement pour tous. 2. Garantir la disponibilité de la ressource et la résilience. 3. Assurer les financements adéquats. 4. Assurer une gouvernance inclusive de l'eau. 5. Renforcer la coopération. En outre, des initiatives phares ont été lancées à cette occasion afin de mettre en œuvre des réponses concrètes sur le terrain. Il s'agit du panel international de haut niveau sur les investissements dans l'eau en Afrique pour mobiliser ces financements adéquats. Il s'agit de la table ronde des maires africains sur la sécurité de l'eau en collaboration avec l'OCDE et CGLU Afrique. Il s'agit du renforcement du pôle eau de Dakar pour en faire un pôle d'excellence dans le domaine de l'eau. En plus de ces initiatives, des projets ont été labellisés qui touchent toutes les dimensions de l'eau. Et enfin, je voudrais dire que devant ces résultats du Forum de Dakar, il est heureux de constater aussi que l'Égypte est pensée à rapprocher les acteurs de l'eau et du climat, deux mondes qui jusqu'ici travaillaient en solo. Le Sénégal recommande que le sujet de l'eau retienne l'attention des négociations climatiques à Sharm el-Sheikh. À cet égard, nous saluons l'initiative AWARE, Action for Water Adaptation and Resilience Initiative, lancée par la présidence de la COP27 et la proposition aussi égyptienne d'accueillir le Centre panafricain sur l'eau et l'adaptation au changement climatique pour le renforcement des capacités des acteurs africains. Aussi, ces préoccupations pourraient figurer en bonne place dans le Water Action Agenda qui sera issu de la conférence des Nations Unies sur l'eau en 2023. Pour terminer, je souhaite que les conclusions de la présente édition de la Semaine de l'eau du Caire contribuent à bâtir un cadre pour renforcer la sécurité de l'eau et la résilience partout à travers le monde. Je vous remercie de votre écoute attentive.
Thank you, Minister Thiam, for not only the work and the leadership in Senegal, but also transboundary. OMSE was awarded a prize for its work on transboundary water cooperation, surface water, but also groundwater. The year of groundwater it is. While 2/3 of the world's countries share surface water bodies, 100% of the world's countries share aquifers. And that shared and that partnership approach is of critical importance. Thanks also for highlighting the important key messages coming out of the Dakar Declaration, a blue deal on water and sanitation security for peace and development, a critical milestone and input for next year's UN 2023 conference and at the heart of the debate here. Thank you so much. Next, His Excellency Juma Hamidu Aweso, Minister of Water and Irrigation from Tanzania. Minister, the floor is yours.
Honorable Professor Hans Wellam, Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation, Arab Republic of Egypt, Honorable Minister and Representative of Minister, Member of Diplomatic Corps present here, other distinguished participants, all protocol observed, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pride and honor that I stand before you to make a statement in connection with the police dialogue in water-scarce countries for achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. I would like in a special way to thank the government of Arab Republic of Egypt for hosting us and for organizing this important meeting from Tanzania. I wish to convey our sincere gratitude for being invited to the Cairo Water Week 2022 and for this opportunity to give a presentation in this important dialogue. Distinguished participants, the African continent had the highest number of transboundary rivers and lake basin that collectively cover 64% of African surface area and contain just over 93% of its surface water resource. However, less than 4% of available water is utilized, and less than 7% of hydropower potential is realized. Despite of availability of numerous water resources available, our people continue to face considerable challenge in accessing water that is triggered by poverty and lack of economic means to make water available. I therefore call for support from the international community to support the effort to increase access of water in Africa. Distinguished participants, according to the series of SDGs reports on assessing implementation of progress in Africa, it shows that the continent is facing some challenges in meeting the Sustainable Development Goals on water and sanitation by 2030 due to pressure on utilization of environmental resources to support economic growth, weak governance and planning framework, and lack of financial resources. It is important to note that Tanzania National Water Policy of 2002 and the Water Resources Management Act number 11 of 2009 recognize and to adhere to the principle of sustainable water resources management at local, national, regional, and international level. Distinguished participants, the Tanzania Water Policy of 2002 emphasized on integrated water resources management approach as the tool for achieving water security, which include provision of water and sanitation for all, implementation of integrated water resources management as one of the indicators for achieving SDGs goals, and I'm happy to report that Tanzania has made good progress in implementation of IWRM through preparation and implementation plans in each of the 9 basins that we have, including Lake Victoria Basin, which is one of the source of the Nile River. Distinguished participants, today, as we meet here to deliberate on different agenda items, we need to make a good assessment of what we have been achieved and challenge faced in regard to the implementation of the July 2008 Assembly Declaration on the Sharm el-Sheikh commitment for accelerating the achievement of water and sanitation goals in Africa. The result of our assessment will help us to make right decisions and as well as to have a common understanding toward a strengthened governance of our water resources. Dear colleagues, allow me to summarize my speech by 3 key points as follows. First, we need international cooperation on water and climate change, and we need it now. And second, we need to increase the budget of water sector in the water sector as a priority sector and enable for SDGs. Third, let us raise the profile of water agenda across the international meeting from regional and United Nations. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I once again thank the Arab Republic of Egypt for inviting me to a remarkable 2022 Cairo Water Week, and I do appreciate the presence of everyone here. I finish my emphasize that cooperation is today, not tomorrow. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. And you couldn't be more right with the concluding. We can't stall cooperation. It should have started yesterday, but we are here today, so we better get working. And with Tanzania's challenges when it comes to water availability and sanitation, providing that leadership role in partnering, but also supporting the work across Africa. Thanks so much. Then I go to His Excellency, Mr. Jamshed Shoimzoda, First Deputy Minister of Energy and Water Resources of the Republic of Tajikistan, and of course, our dear partner in co-hosting the UN 2023 Water Conference. Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the floor. Excellencies, ministers, dear participants, the time of this session is critically important since more than 80% of all impacts of climate crisis can be felt through the water. And at the same time, the water plays an important role in climate adaptation, mitigation, and resilience. That's why in COP26, together with the Netherlands, with our friends from Netherlands and the a lot of friends were created the first time in the COP Water Pavilion. And we also words of appreciation to the government of Egypt and especially to the Ministry of Water, Resources and Irrigation to bring the water issues to the heart of the climate actions, and they make that very important, the COP27, to bring all us to the water. But it is important not only for water-scarce countries. Tajikistan, it's my country, is a rich water country, but we are also climate change affected one. Just imagine the last 30 years, we, Tajikistan, lose 1,000 micro and small glaciers. It means that our glaciers are melting rapidly, water resources reducing, floods, mud floods, and droughts are becoming more frequent, causing significant damage to the country's economy and undermining the efforts to achieve sustainable development. This is a clear demonstration how water and climate are integrated. We therefore very committed to future activity advocating integrated water and climate agenda at all levels. That's why Tajikistan joined the Water Climate Coalition Leaders, established to set and pursue an integrated global water and climate agenda in support of sustainable development. President of the Republic of Tajikistan, His Excellency Emomali Rahmon, at the first meeting of this platform on March last year, proposed to declare this 2025 as an International Year of Glaciers Preservation. We are gratefully promoting this initiative and hope that at the end of this year, the UN General Assembly resolution on this regard will be adopted. An important part of this initiative in promoting international cooperation. As our colleagues from different ministers say, it's very important to do it now, but we also agree with Hank that we should do it yesterday, maybe 10 years ago. On water, international cooperation on water and climate issues, and establish a sustainable international mechanism to facilitate and sustain access to accurate and timely information on cryosphere. Distinguished participants, recently released IPCC report highlighted that climate breakdown is happening faster than expected, and the window to take action is closing fast. The report therefore calls the governments, private sector, and other key players to take drastic action against the climate change. In the second Dushanbe conference, we already investigate how we can achieve the goals SDG 6 till 2030. And the result is very tough. Why? Because to get this result, we should multiply our action, not only twice. We should 4 times our action should be faster to achieve these goals. Taking into account the great role of the water in this process, integrated approach is a key to address water and climate challenges. In June this year, we hosted the second Dushanbe Water Conference that drew together 2,500 in person and 500 online participants to discuss the ways how to catalyze and accelerate action and partnership to achieve the goals of water action decade, including those contained in 2030 agenda. The conference made a great focus also to the water and climate interlinkages. The main findings are including the key message to the New York of Dushanbe Declaration. And as a co-host of UN 2023 Water Conference, jointly with our friends and partners from the Netherlands, we are going to put water and climate interlinkages, especially in the term of adaptation and resiliency, in the center of discussion in New York. We have already suggested this topic as one of the themes of the 5 interactive dialogues of the conference and hope much that it will be supported by member states and other stakeholders next week, when the PGA preparatory meeting should finalizing of the themes of mentioned dialogues. We are convinced that integrated approach is the only way to address water and the climate challenges, and reiterate once again our commitment of this process. And finally, we consider that UN 2023 Water Conference is a good opportunity for all of us to make the changes, to bring water on the top of the water development agenda, to show that water can be a deal maker, the leverage point for green economy, climate resilience, and more sustainable and inclusive world. But to achieve these needs, we need your commitments, actions, and partnership. Let's use opportunity to unite for water. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, First Deputy Minister for Energy and Water Resources, Jamshid Shoham-Zoda, for your partnership towards next year's UN 2023 conference, and again highlighting the recommendations coming out of the second Dushanbe conference towards the midterm review of the Water Action Decade. Critical recommendations that are the foundation for next year's UN conference, like the inputs coming from Cairo this week. And also stressing again the importance of the relationship between water and climate, here at the heart of Cairo Water Week, but also as one of the main 5 themes that we presented to all member states to be decided upon next week. Water and climate are directly linked. In the impact we see only increasing, but definitely in the solutions that we want, the alternative. Thank you so much. Next, Mr. Francisco Igor Nunes, Deputy National Secretary for Water Security from Brazil. The floor is yours, Mr. Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Hank. Dear Minister of Water Resource and Irrigation, His Excellency, Professor Hani Sulilam, dear national and authorities that are attending to the meeting, dear colleagues, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to expose Brazilian experience in facing water scarcity and to discuss how we could enhance cooperation in water and climate around the world to achieve SDGs. As the Deputy National Secretary of Water Security of my country, I can state that Brazil has a national water security plan adopted in 2018. We conceptualize water security as a situation in which water is available to sustain human well-being, social-economic development, and the conservation of aquatic ecosystem. All of it accompanied by an acceptable level of risk related to droughts and floods. Using this idea, the country developed a water security index with considers 4 dimensions. The first one, water for population, basic needs, and well-being. Water for multiple economic uses, water ecosystem preservation, and the last one, resilience to extreme climate events. With this dimension in mind, Brazilian government at federal and state levels agreed in a national plan to the year of 2035, involving investments of 30 billion reais, something about $5.5 billion in water infrastructure. Note that investment needed in sanitation is not included in this amount. We're talking about only water infrastructure. Many people don't know that Brazil faces water scarcity. The Amazon River and the Iguaçu waterfalls are in the mind of people all around the world. Brazil is a huge country with 5 biomes and high hydrological diversity. Climate Brazil is also diverse. I myself was born and grew up in the semi-arid region of Brazil, where about 30 million people live, part of them facing water scarcity. To deal with this high populated, water scarce region, Brazil developed a secular experience of public policies to build water infrastructure, to develop agricultural technologies, and to supply water to people living in rural areas. In the past, Brazil used to face huge climate-associated migration movements inside our country. Since 80s, we've been enhancing adaptation policies, and this kind of migration became residual. In recent years, however, extreme water events seem to have been more frequent. In 2018, those who attended to the 8th World Water Forum may remember that Brazil was facing a historical drought, which effects we had to deal with. We also must be prepared for future and new extreme events. In Brazil, cooperation has always been a key word in these efforts to deal with water issues. Cooperation among government levels, users, and communities, as prescribed in our national water law. Because of the law in Brazil, about 100,000 people are involved in water management. Facing the challenge of the present and of the future, we believe we must reinforce water cooperation and reaffirm common but differentiated responsibilities to each stakeholder. Cooperation must respect diversity and reinforce the discussion of connected themes in their adequate forums, being then humanitarian, climate, or security ones. This would be one way reach the target of the Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development, especially the SDG 6. Therefore, I would like to congratulate the government of Egypt for the organization of this event, to thank all participants for their attention, and to invite each of you one here in his or her common but differentiated responsibilities converge in this call for action and offer this rich document to the 2023 UN Water Conference. See you all in New York. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nunes. And yes, the World Water Forum in Brazil is still remembered as the time when the high-level panel on water presented its report, also in Brazil, calling for action. Action we're taking, but have to take more. And as you rightly said, the images that we have of the places around the world of too much, too little, and polluted water are becoming mixed. Brazil facing droughts and water stress because of an abundance of water, and that quality of water is under threat. Even the Netherlands, my own country in Europe, and the Kingdom, with our small island states in the Caribbean, facing droughts as an impact. When people think of the Netherlands, they only think that we manage too much water, which is not the case. These extremes not only become more extreme and impacting everything, they're more interlinked. Thanks for reminding us, for taking that concerted action, but also showcasing Brazil's leadership in the case of water investment. Next, Mr. Liu Zhigang, Director General of International Cooperation, Science and Technology of the Ministry of Water Resources in China. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Henk. Your Excellency, Professor Savilam, Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation of Egypt, honorable ministers and heads of delegations, distinguished participants, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great pleasure and honor for me to have this opportunity to address such a distinguished audience at the 2022 Cairo Water Week. At this high-level segment, policy dialogues in water in water-scarce countries for achieving SDGs. On behalf of the Ministry of Water Resources of China, I would like to thank the government of Egypt, in particular the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation, led by His Excellency Professor Savilam, for their kind invitation and gracious hospitality, and for their wonderful organization of the Cairo Water Week, which is an increasingly important international water event. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, water resources are essential for supporting the sustainable development of economy, society, and ecology. Climate change severely challenges the global progress of the water-related SDGs. The Chinese government attaches great importance to the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and takes effective actions to fulfill its solemn commitment to the SDGs. In accordance with the vision of SDGs and in light of China's water conditions, the President of China, Mr. Xi, has put forward a new concept for water governance that is prioritizing water conservation, balancing spatial distribution, taking systematic approaches, and giving full play to the roles of both government and market. Over the years, remarkable progress has been made in advancing SDGs and implementing the above-mentioned concept. Firstly, we have built a system of basin-based flood control works, mainly comprised of reservoirs, river channels, and embankments, and flood storage and detention areas. In response to frequent and recurrent floods and waterlogging disasters, and ensured the protection of people's lives and property. Secondly, we have made vigorous efforts to promote the safety of drinking water in rural areas. With an 84% penetration rate of rural tap water, China has made unprecedented accomplishment in safe drinking water provision that had failed so many rural residents for generations. Thirdly, we have undertaken a number of major interbasin, interregional water diversion projects with total water supply capacity of 890 billion cubic meters. Our waterworks across the country have greatly enhanced water security for economic and social development. Fourthly, we successfully implemented the National Action for Water Conservation and improved water use efficiency. With 6% of the world's freshwater resources, China has secured water consumption for nearly 1/5 of the global population. Fifthly, thanks to the institutional innovation of the river and lake chief system, rivers and lakes across the country enjoy better protection and regulation, with increased environmental flow and biodiversity. At the same time, the Chinese government strongly advocates international cooperation in the water sector. We are committed to the exchange of water governance innovations and sharing of water management solutions with the international community. In doing so, China has made her due contribution in stepping up the realization of water SDGs. First, the Chinese Ministry of Water Resources has entered into about 70 water cooperation agreements with dozens of countries in 5 continents of the globe, with many of which we have maintained regular meetings and exchange visits. For example, this year, the year 2022, marks the 10th anniversary of the China-Europe water platform. We have also engaged in profound partnership with water-related international organizations such as the UN agencies and the World Water Council, the International Commission of Irrigation and Drainage, ICID, and ICODE, large dams, and IWRA, etc., and established the permanent exchange mechanisms. Second, China has provided assistance to many developing countries, including African countries, in capacity building and joint research relating to integrated water resources management and water-saving irrigation, etc. Third, we uphold the policy of friendship and partnership with neighboring countries. Fruitful exchanges and cooperation are carried out with our neighboring countries in areas such as hydrological flood forecasting, flood control, and emergency response. In line with the consensus of addressing problems through consultation, we join our neighbors to promote water cooperation along the Lancang-Mekong. In particular, we proactively respond to floods and drought along the river basin, give full consideration to the needs of the downstream countries for flood control, disaster reduction, and water security, and keep deepening our practical cooperation in information sharing and livelihood improvement projects. These efforts provide a strong guarantee of water security for economic and social development and the improvement of people's livelihood and well-being in the Lancang-Mekong Basin. Distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen, the water challenges confronting all countries in the world are real, severe, and persistent. Going forward, the Ministry of Water Resources of China would like to join hands with its global partners to effectively implement the Global Development Initiative, the GDI. We will focus on key areas, innovate cooperation models, boost water partnerships, and share successful experience and mature technologies. With all these, we hope to make due contribution to accelerated achievement of the water SDGs, global post-pandemic economic recovery, and common prosperity of mankind. In the next couple of years, China will host a series of international water events, such as the World Irrigation Forum, the World Water Congress, the International Congress on Large Dams, and the Asia International Water Week, etc. So all of you, my dear colleagues, are most welcome to come to China to join, to participate in these international water events. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Liu Jinggang, for laying the land on how China is working on water, not only in China, but with its neighbors and across the world, and how important collaboration, sharing of experiences, and expanding that action is. We started half an hour late, so we're running out of time. That is a little bit in the mix, but because we're still in the time of what was planned, we're still, after 11, giving only an hour instead of 1.5 hours, which is impossible. We have 2 videos to present, and not a discussion anymore. But I will ask the panel to think about, while we present the videos to you, 2 questions. 1, you're all packing your bags for New York. Choose one thing you want to bring to the UN 2023 Water Conference. And second, who do you want to partner with? And it can be a person, a little girl, somewhere in Africa, or a scientist in Asia, to achieve the goal that you want to bring. 2 questions. What do you bring, and who do you want to partner with? Can I have the first video by the World Bank? His Excellency Mr. Farid Belhahi, Vice President, Middle East and Northern Africa from the World Bank.
Excellencies, ministers, friends, my greetings. It is my honor to address you at this year's Cairo Water Week. I regret that I cannot be in Cairo in person. We are, as you know, having our World Bank IMF annual meetings here in Washington, and my presence is required. I look forward to the next opportunity to travel and to be with you in person. I applaud the organizers of this year's Cairo Water Week for selecting the theme Water at the Heart of Climate Action, which captures one of the great challenges of our time, as well as the critical role of water resources management in responding to the existential challenge of water scarcity. I commend the government of Egypt for its leadership role, not only as the host of the Cairo Water Week, but also as the president of the COP27, which will take place in Sharm el-Sheikh in just a few weeks. The World Bank will, of course, be present. We all know that water is essential to life. And yet, this precious resource is so often wasted, mismanaged, polluted. It is easy to despair when we consider the state of water today. The growing gap between supply and demand, the discrepancy in access to safe water and sanitation, the profound stress caused to tens, no, hundreds of millions of people across the world as a result of climate change, more frequent and more destructive floods, crippling droughts that impact our ability to grow food for the planet and to provide water for the basic human needs. At the same time, it is reassuring to see that these existential challenges in water are also inspiring creative approaches to adaptation. The world has seen an outpouring of analytical work that attempts to understand what is happening to water in the Middle East and North Africa and elsewhere. And I'd like to include here the World Bank's Country Climate and Development Reports, CCDRs, which are a powerful diagnostic for understanding not only the physical impacts of climate change, but also its economic and fiscal impacts, and which often offer recommendations to help countries adapt to the challenges of climate change. Nowhere does water mean more than in the Middle East and North Africa region. The extreme water challenges are driving innovation, new technologies, giving new impetus to regional and international cooperation in tackling water and climate challenges. Events such as the Cairo Water Week and the COP process itself. Countries across the region are advancing new sources of water, driving down the high cost of energy in desalination, transforming brine from a waste product into a valuable byproduct, developing new water reuse and energy-neutral wastewater projects, helping to grow more food with less water and less energy. The private sector is playing a pivotal role in this transition. The World Bank Group's roadmap for climate action in MENA has a target of leveraging $2 billion in private financing between 2021, last year, and 2025. This on top of an estimated $10 billion of World Bank and IFC commitments for climate-smart projects and policy reforms. What we do here in MENA is providing lessons for the rest of the world in charting more sustainable development trajectories. There is a growing awareness of the links between water and the whole economy, and from it, a growing consensus that a holistic approach is needed to come to the best decisions and policies about how to manage water in the 21st century. Manage it in a way that makes life better for people and will help the world to achieve Sustainable Development Goal 6 to ensure access to water and sanitation for all. An excellent example of a holistic approach is Egypt's program Nexus between water, food, and energy, which is a unique platform that brings together all stakeholders through a multidisciplinary approach. I would also like to commend Egypt for its leadership in preparing the Sharm el-Sheikh guidebook for just financing in cooperation with about 70 development partners, international financial institutions, including the World Bank, and commercial and investment banks. This is where the private sector is engaged. This is a much needed initiative that aims to translate high-level financial commitments into implementable, sustainable projects that will help the world manage the impact of climate change. I am sure that during the Cairo Water Week, you will have the opportunity to learn more about this and other exciting initiatives to foster collaboration and more partnerships in this vital space. At the World Bank, we are committed to supporting our members in promoting water and climate cooperation. We all know that not collaborating is not an option. We need to work together to help countries in the Middle East and North Africa and the world at large manage water to the benefit of humanity and the environment. I wish you the best for your productive and stimulating Cairo Water Week and hope to see you in person very soon. Thank you.
Okay, a quick round. I start, of course, Your Excellency, Professor Hani Sewilam. What will you bring and who will you reach out to achieve what? And you can use the microphone next to you.
Thank you. I think the only and the most important topic, which is a cross-cutting topic, is water scarcity for us. And it overlaps, of course, with many other issues like climate change, like increasing population, like technologies to be used for enhancing the water management, as the previous speaker said, producing more with less, producing more food with less water and less energy. I think these are the topics under the umbrella of water scarcity, again, as a cross-cutting issue with other disciplines I would take with you to the UN Conference 2023. Thank you.
And who would you reach out first? And perhaps if it's too political, then it's okay to. It's not about that. I think you should identify a country and make it a political debate. But where you would find the inspiration to work on this water scarcity?
I'm a scientist. I'm coming from the university, so I am not yet politician, as you can imagine. So I speak freely and take the risk. Bring with me. I will take all the Nile Basin countries with me to the UN Conference 2023. They are my brothers and our brothers. They are our first neighbors. Take the 10 other Nile Basin countries with me.
Thank you. We have in the suitcase water scarcity and all Nile Basin countries carrying it. So that is a strong message. Next, His Excellency Honorable Serigne Mbaye Thiam, Minister of Water and Sanitation, Senegal. Minister, what would you bring and who will carry the suitcase with you?
Peut-être ça va être un point que vous avez aborder en faisant... Bon. Oui. À part les questions que j'ai évoquées dans mon intervention tout à l'heure, je crois qu'un des points distinctifs du Sénégal sur lesquels qui peut peut-être servir d'exemple dans d'autres contextes, c'est le bassin du fleuve Sénégal que nous partageons avec la Guinée, où ce fleuve prend sa source. No translation.
Non. En français encore. Pardon, parce que...
C'est bon maintenant la traduction? C'est bon maintenant? Voilà, je dis que, à part les questions que j'ai évoquées tout à l'heure, un des points peut-être que nous pouvons partager, c'est la gestion que nous avons du bassin du fleuve Sénégal, que nous partageons avec 3 autres pays. Le fleuve Sénégal prend sa source en Guinée et est un fleuve riverain avec le Mali et la Mauritanie et le Sénégal. Et nous avons aussi le fleuve Gambie qui prend sa source à Guinée et qui profite aussi à la Gambie, à la Guinée-Bissau et puis au Sénégal. Le Sénégal a la particularité d'être un pays qui abrite donc le siège de ces 2 organismes de bassin. Le siège de ces 2 organismes de bassin. Et lors du 9e Forum mondial de l'eau, nous avons fêté les 50 ans de l'Organisation pour la mise en valeur du fleuve Sénégal, qui est un exemple de coopération autour de l'eau pour un développement et une prospérité partagée avec des barrages qui ont été construits dans des pays. Il y a le barrage de Manantali qui est le plus gros barrage de production hydroélectrique qui est au Mali, mais qui est un ouvrage commun de l'OMVS. Nous avons un autre barrage au Sénégal aussi qui est un ouvrage commun mais géré par tout le monde. Donc de prospérité partagée, de paix et de coopération autour de l'eau. Et l'année dernière, nous sommes allés plus loin avec la Mauritanie et tous ces pays, avec la Gambie et la Guinée-Bissau, pour un protocole de coopération autour du bassin aquifère sénégalais et mauritanien. Je pense aussi que devant les défis que nous avons, c'est un exemple qui peut nous permettre de faire face à la résilience. Merci.
Merci. Yes, applause. Again, 2 rivers traveling to New York with you, the Senegal River and the Gambia River, and the partnering countries you work with to ensure water security, scarcity, safety, management, hydro, water quality together. Again, an example of partnerships coming to New York. Thank you so much for sharing. His Excellency, Mr. Juma Hamido Aweso, Minister of Water and Irrigation, Tanzania. The suitcase you will bring, what's in it and who is carrying it with you?
I think it will be good if all countries send higher level delegation from water sector to New York so that we can have all be there for the big agenda meeting.
Very good. So you already partner, of course, with your colleague from Egypt, carrying 1 suitcase, travel light. It's a good idea, perhaps. Although light might not be the first reference when we think about the Nile. There's a lot of water, but at the same time, many challenges. Thank you so much. And again, riverine cooperation, so critical, important for water security for all. It's good. Yes, that was the... His Excellency, Mr. Jamshid Shohimzoda, First Deputy Minister of Energy and Water Resources of Tajikistan. What's in your suitcase, next to the many challenges of the whole water conference, but what would be in your suitcase, and who would you carry it with?
Yep, thank you. It's a good question, of course. And for us, I think it's very important to, for me especially, and for my country especially, to bring to New York decision makers. Because we are calling for the voluntary commitments, and I will bring the people who make more commitments. It will be, we don't have list who will be bring some commitments for us, but I think it's very important to bring decision makers, because I'm explaining why. Because when the commitments on the table and start implemented, everything will be work very good and smoothly. And of course, the second option, the second point that I think is very important to bring the water users. For example, we as a Minister of Energy and Water Resources, we are part of the nexus, and we just have agriculture. And for us, it's important to bring the water users to this conference to understand what's, especially in the agriculture sector, to understand what the needs and explain what the challenging the war bring us, that why sometimes we have the problem on it. And it's the official version, of course. The second version is, especially my personal vision, is I should bring you to this conference because our cooperation is very important. It shows that how the two different countries work together. For example, we are a mountain country, we are source of the water. Netherlands is a sea, from the source to sea. Different culture, different place, but we are joined together, we unite together to bring the watershed, the global agenda. And it's not just only explaining that we are, have a good relation, and it's also now with the complement work in the scientific also. We're starting discussion to exchange students, and just only 5 years ago, 7 years ago, it will be difficult to understanding that some students from Tajikistan, from the mountain country, will be learn what's happening in the Netherlands and what they're facing challenges there. That's why water is united and it's very important. And now we also united. And our friends from Egypt also mentioned, His Excellency mentioned that he wants to get his neighbors because it's already started united. We don't have other opportunity, and water can unite us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes. Important. The ones that can and will make the decisions, the ones that need to understand better, the users. And of course, I will come with you, for sure. We will carry a suitcase together. Thank you so much. Mr. Francisco Igor Nunes from Brazil, what will you bring and who is carrying it with you?
Okay, that's a difficult question to answer, right? Not pretty sure about my answer, but I think the main topic is cooperation. The challenge that we have ahead, the challenge that we have to face are huge. And who I'll bring with me, I think this is the hardest part to answer. I'll bring the whole world.
The whole world, okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
The challenge are
massive.
Are very, very difficult to reach the targets, and so we need the academy, the society, the governors, private sector. We need everybody together, working together to reach where we want to be.
Thank you. Thanks. Applause. Yeah. Implementation, execution, impact with the whole world by operations. And last, but of course not least, Mr. Liu Jingguang, Director General of International Cooperation, Science and Technology of the Ministry of Water Resources in China. What's in your suitcase and who's carrying it with you?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me, the most important topic is providing water for all. This is the because you know currently there are billions of people in the world suffer, you know, the lack of water and sanitation. In the SDGs, goal number 6, I remember, goal number 6. This is providing water for all is essential. And to address this problem, you need the concerted efforts. You need those countries that you could provide help, and those countries that need help and to give cooperation and incorporating in their national plans to improve the water situation for their population. So this is most important for me. And for the second part of the question, whatever partners, this is a matter of partnering. So whoever would like, is willing to provide support to give, for example, donation or financial support, assistance, development assistance. So these are all the potential partners that I will maybe, on a personal view, that I will be choosing, for partnering.
Thank you so much. Again, applause. You need a big suitcase. You will bring all the fresh water of the world that is necessary to have everyone a secure access to safe drinking water, for sure. Thanks for focusing on SDG 6 on that matter. I hope you bring sanitation and hygiene with you, because then we will achieve that. And of course, the partnership approach resonating across this panel is clear. With that, I want to thank you all for your patience. We started way late, we ended later. Necessary to this topic, kicking off this day, that we will end with concluding on the Cairo call for action. I hope to see you along the day in these policy dialogues, but definitely in the end, where we will get to a conclusion on the call to action. I want a big hand of applause for the amazing panel and their commitments that they want to bring to New York to make it a success. We will need you all. They will need you all to make it a success. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.